Hi guys, I'm Alex Holmstrom, and this is the Alex at Bat podcast, and we have Jason Holmstrom. When it comes to anything to do with current, athletic, throwback sports news, or anything sports related, we will always be at bat. And today is another episode. Let's start it off.
Well, today we're going to get into last night. Last night we went to the Philadelphia Phillies versus the Florida Marlins. At
Miami.
Yeah, Florida Marlins. Yeah, is it Miami?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Anyway, 9 innings of baseball, really good game. We had good seats. Before we get into all like the game and whatnot, though, I wanted to kind of start from the top as far as the overall experience and walking through some of the things that we experienced. So we get into the stadium. First thing we do is what?
Well, first thing we get in the stadium, there's always good food there, and there's always good things around the stadium. Just all these different things you can do. And there's a lot of good food. Definitely, it's the main part.
What food in particular?
Food pocket. I'm just kidding. So there, that burnt end cheesesteak was good. Definitely, if you're interested in going to a Phillies home game, definitely check that out. Um, definitely some ice cream. They actually have a baseball cap, or I would say like plastic helmet. Yeah, baseball helmet technically, and they put ice cream in there, and you could get your sprinkle, you could get hot fudge. Definitely worth getting it, and you can save those baseball caps as like a memory, I guess. Like you got ice cream at a Phillies game, so yeah, definitely is a fun experience. Even though there's so many eating innings, that's why it's a good thing they have things you can do there, because it can get boring sometimes watching all 9 innings. Sometimes it can be.
I would actually challenge that a little. I would push back a little bit on that. Normally, maybe I would say it was boring, but the pitch clock, I have to say, really moved things along nicely. But, however, going back to the food, what was your favorite bite of food that you had? I know I'll start with mine. Mine was the burnt end cheesesteak at Bull's Barbecue. Nicely spiced, well seasoned. Smoked Gouda was on point. Roll was delicious. The only downside, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. The downside was like the $18 price tag. But I mean, you're going to get hit coming and going at that place anyway. But good stuff. Your favorite bite of food?
I would say that definitely was the crab fries. I had that too. Give that maybe like a 3 out of 5. Definitely over seasoned.
Yeah, the bottom, like the bottom half of the fries, always is where all the seasoning falls down to. So you end up, you like the first half is pretty good, and then you get down to the bottom half, and all you're tasting is that crab fry seasoning.
Yeah, and then once you have so much crab fry seasoning on the fries, you could definitely start to feel like that's a lot of seasoning.
Anywho, so we ate our way through the park and sat down. We were 400 level, but we were the first row along the glass, right behind home plate. Really nice vantage point. And first thing I noticed right off the bat was the pitch clock and the tempo of the game. Much quicker. I mean, I think the overall game, it was just over, it was under 2.5 hours. I want to say it was maybe 2 hours 10, 2 hours 20 minutes long. So the game moved along nicely. They had switched up the Philadelphia Phillies batting lineup to kind of change things up. I think the Phillies at the time were 3-7. So they were slumping a little bit. Bats weren't hot. They changed up the lineup to get things going, and man, did they. It was a good game. They were facing Sandy Alcantara, last year's National League Cy Young Award winner. So amazing pitcher. Gave the Phillies fits all last year, but I think it was Jay Cave was first season in Phillies uniform, steps up to the bat, boom, home run. And so from there, the Philadelphia Phillies were pretty much off to the races. Strom was on the mound, pitching a strong game. Any reaction towards some of the highlights of what you saw as far as Philly offense last night?
Definitely. I mean, I watched a little bit of the Phillies games. Sometimes I remember how bad their batting was, and I mean, man, oh man, this is not a boring game to watch. Most baseball games can be like really boring, not a lot of scoring. But I mean, there wasn't a lot of scoring in the first couple innings, but they got it together. Yeah, third inning, and then they started getting things together, and then it was like something that you do not want to leave for, and it was just something fun to watch.
Yeah, I think the third inning is when they scored 5 runs, and they worked their way all the way around the batting order. And it was impressive. I mean, I think we saw 3 balls go out of the park last night. We saw Booms, Marsh jacked one, and Cave. Cave was the first one. So that was really cool. And the fans were into it. It was fun. A lot of families, a lot of kids, good atmosphere, healthy atmosphere. 28,000 people in attendance, I think, last night. Scoreboard. What do you think about that brand new scoreboard? We actually got a sneak peek at that when we were at the Phillies 5K a couple weekends ago. We saw it from the outside. We didn't see it fired up like we did last night. What did you think about that new scoreboard with 20 some extra feet of digital wonderment?
That honestly look like, I don't know, maybe some like NFL jumbotron. But I mean, the difference about an NFL jumbotron is that it's just more wider, but it's definitely big too, just like a NFL jumbotron was. So it was definitely cool. You kind of got to see it better. You kind of got to see, if you're not able to see it, just face down, you can look up, and it's like a big one, and you're able to watch the jumbotron. You could get every little instinct, from the game and stuff like that. You could catch everything through that jumbotron because how big it was. It's not like those small jumbotrons that look like maybe like a 15-foot TV, something like that.
Yeah, but one thing that I noticed and that I really appreciated was when you go to a football game, you can find yourself just watching the jumbotron because the game is essentially being broadcast up there. So if your seats suck, then you're kind of relegated to just watching that big old screen, and then you spend all that money on food and tickets and parking just to watch the jumbotron. Whereas at Citizens Bank last night, they're not giving you the game on the TV. Like when the guys are up to bat and the actual playing of the game is going on, it's just statistics up on the jumbotron. It's not anything that's actually going on down the field. So you're forced to watch what's going on down the field. I'm not sure there's a bad seat in that stadium, so it's never a problem. It certainly was. So it was fun to be able to see the game, not be stuck watching it. However, we're both stats guys, so it was fun to see who was up to bat, look up at the jumbotron or the scoreboard, and see all the statistics that went along with that guy. It was fun also to watch the Phillies bats or the batting average go up and up and up because that's what was happening last night. That revamped order really lit a fire under some guys.
Absolutely, and I definitely think that you saw a lot more batters this time because it looked like everybody was just hitting home runs. Everyone's going up to bat all the time because like they had so many guys just hitting the long long ball, and it's just like crazy how fast they can how much scoring they did, especially in that one inning. They had like so many points in that or home runs in that one inning, which was pretty cool to watch, definitely. So I definitely think that the Phillies played a real good game yesterday. Even though the Marlins scored 3 and we scored like 15. So it was definitely a fun game to see and fun to, probably one of the biggest, the highest number, when I've been to a couple Phillies games. So, like, it's definitely something you do not want to miss.
It was 18 runs, 29 hits. Phillies had 20 hits in 8.5 innings of play. and they did it under like 2 hours 20 minutes. So it was a fast-paced, high-scoring game. We really couldn't ask for much more than that, and our team won. That was cool. Yeah, I mean, they had the third inning, they had 5 runs. Fifth and sixth inning, they had 4 runs each, and then they added on an extra run in both the seventh and the eighth to bring it up to 15. And I guess by the time they pulled Strom had a 0.0 ERA with his first start of the season. So he looked great. Phillies looked great. It was fun too. You could tell that some of the players are really gelling. Like the chemistry was really good. At one point, Nick Castellanos, the DH, who's known to be a double machine, roped a double into left center field. Standing up on second base, he makes like a motion where he's like a championship belt kind of around his waist, and then holds 2 fingers up in the air, like basically I'm the doubles king, I'm the doubles champion, and true to form. And then I think it was a few innings later, Brandon Marsh gets up, ropes a double, and he makes it to second. I think he was made it there standing up too. Castellanos had to slide. So Marsh gets there, and now he's motioning like he's got the belt. He's the champ. And you could tell he's motioning into Castellanos in the dugout like, yo, I'm the doubles king now, not you. So it was like a little friendly rivalry that was going on within the Phillies dugout. So that's the kind of stuff, I was telling some of the people that we went with, that's the kind of stuff that as a fan makes me want to go out there, because I enjoy being part of something that feels like, like real camaraderie, like a team that's really gelling, like a team that is, when you look in the dugout, if they are behind, they're not really sweating it, because they know at any moment within any inning, within any at bat, they stand a chance of turning it around. So I think hopefully more of the pitching gets settled down and they start making some real moves, because that batting order, it's looking good. It looked real nice.
Absolutely. There was definitely a game that you would want to see, especially if you're the winning team. Just everyone having a chance to hit home runs, and then they're both trying to get the championship belt, but only one can get it. So we'll have some debate on that, maybe who should get it. Before we go to the NFL topic, is there anything else you would want to say?
No, just that I'm going to try to make more Phillies games and eat more burn end sandwiches. Actually, maybe next time the pulled pork. I don't know, but I'll give a full review of that, and then when we do a follow up podcast.
Yeah, definitely. And now for our NFL topic. We have something news about what Tyreek Hill, the Miami Dolphins wide receiver, has been saying recently, which got a lot of people surprised and one kind of off guard, I would say. So first thing, before we go to the other thing, first thing he said was about, this kind of reminds me of the whole Burrowhead comments. Now Tyreek Hill saying he's going to go to, because they play this Chiefs this year at Chiefs Stadium, and he said, "I hate to throw out the peace sign against y'all, but the cheetah is like coming or something," and he said he's going to have like all these yards and stuff like that. So of course, social media. One Chiefs player, Chris Jones, had some comments to say about that. He said about, I think he said something like "May God bless him" or something like that. and then, they kind of like made fun of each other, kind of like back and forth. Tyreek Hill had like a video of like some, I don't know what it was, like a monkey eating banana or something, and he said that's what Chris, or eating, or some animal eating some like a lot of food, and he's like, that's what Chris Jones be doing in the offseason. I think he was trying to make fun of him since he's like a defensive tackle, and I think he's trying to say like he eats a lot during the offseason. So like, they're kind of going back and forth. So that'll definitely be another matchup, and of course, if the Chiefs win that game, they're gonna be fired up and definitely have a lot of comments to say if they beat the Miami Dolphins this year.
Yeah, I mean, just trash talk. That's what it is. That's what. That's from the offseason. It's yeah. I mean, they got to pick up on something. Those guys are trying to motivate themselves in the off season to get into the gym, to do more, to do work, And at the end of the day, I mean, I think as long as it's coming from a good place in your heart and directed at the right people who can take the jab, everybody's getting better for it. So talk crap on. Just keep going with it.
Absolutely, and it was funny. Tyreek Hill, it was talking smack. It was pretty funny. He said like he called Chris Jones little boy. He said if I run jet sweep, you're not getting me or something like that. And then he's like, yeah, you're a little boy. So like it's definitely fun. It starts all the way from the off season, like the trash talk. I know it happens always during the games, but it also starts from the off season. Like that, and that will definitely be a big matchup marked on probably a lot of people's calendars because this is another thing like it was for the Bengals when they called the stadium Burrowhead. So that's what kind of reminded me of, but except now they're doing it during the offseason, so they're getting extra head start of their motivation, I guess, slash trash talk. So that will definitely be a fun game to watch this year, whenever that game is.
Why is Tyreek Hill talking trash because his former team is the Chiefs, or are the Dolphins and the Chiefs have somewhat of a rivalry in any way, shape, or form? I never heard of that, but this is just purely based on the fact that Tyreek Hill is coming from the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Plus the Super Bowl champ, so everybody wants to knock the champ off, the top of the hill too.
Absolutely. I mean, like, especially, people are saying that, all those like people who thought the Chiefs were not going to win the Super Bowl, thinking that they're going to be quiet. I mean, they're going to, then after, if they lose, they're going to be talking about the next year. And, um, there's been like a lot of teams, who won the Super Bowl and then get eliminated the next year. But I mean, I'm not saying that for the Chiefs, but anything can really happen. They're gonna probably be the underdogs again because people are gonna say they're playing tougher. I would say definitely playing a lot tougher teams this year. They got the Bills, they got the Dolphins, who are actually pretty good. When Tua is on the field.
You really think the Chiefs are going to be considered underdogs in any shape or form?
I mean, like there's like people who are you know, they're everyone's always like underdogs, and I think the Chiefs might be an underdog, but that doesn't mean they're gonna like keep on losing, because last year they weren't even supposed to make the playoffs last year because they thought Russell Wilson's coming to the Broncos, they're gonna somehow not be able to handle that, and then I think it's just every year, there's gonna be people who are gonna say they're probably not gonna be able to repeat it again, but that the Chiefs, even though the Chiefs are always in the top seed every year in the playoffs, people are still gonna have their doubts about that.
So what else happened? You had mentioned that a couple things. Is this all around Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, I mean, of course, they're kind of remind me of when they were carrying that underdog role. This is a kind of like a underdog role again because clearly Tyreek Hill thinks that he's gonna do good, and last time when the Bengals thought that too, didn't end well. So you never know. Like it's definitely gonna be a fun matchup to watch. That's pretty much for that one. And Tyreek Hill also said something else too, which I wanted to get to. He said he plans on to retire after the 2025 season because that's when his contract ends. He literally said that on a podcast.
How old is he going to be?
I think he's gonna be like 32.
I didn't know he's been playing for that many years. Did he play
2016 was his rookie year. So
with the Chiefs?
yeah, 2016, and then he obviously stopped playing for them after the 2021 season. And he said he wants to like focus on like other stuff, more like I think he said like gaming or something like that. So I will. Shannon Sharp also said was he'll see it when he believes it. There's been a lot of NFL players who say they plan on retire this year and they never do because maybe they regret that decision. Maybe they want to keep on playing more because they still love the game. So that's kind of how I feel. I'll see it when I believe it because there's been so many players who are like, I want to retire, this year, and then they never do, and then they keep on playing for years on years. So that's just something you have to. Well, something that I'll believe when I see it.
Interesting. So he's talking a lot of trash. and then he's also talking retirement. He's talking a lot.
Yeah.
Is he saying anything else? Is there anything else coming out of that fellow's mouth recently, or is those are the two big talking points?
I mean, those are like the big topics of what Tyreek Hill's been saying. I thought it was pretty funny when he was talking about about him what he's gonna do against the Chiefs. I mean, he's a great player, so I mean, it could definitely happen, but just people it just never works well. I'm just saying, it's like it never works well when it is against the Chiefs because with the Bengals last year, they did it, never worked, and there's been other teams. I'm pretty sure there's been other teams with the Chiefs, who they're talking a lot of smack, and then they end up losing the game. So you never know. Maybe they somehow beat them. Who knows?
Yeah, you can't walk around scared of the Chiefs every year. So good for them. Good for them
Yeah,
for stepping up.
and I'm definitely not mad about it or anything. I think it's pretty, I think it's pretty cool. That if they're saying that they could beat the defending Super Bowl champs, that just shows a lot of confidence they have in themselves and most likely their team because I've heard him throw some, shit, which most people call shades. I've heard him do that recently. I mean, probably I think after when he got traded, he also said was like Tua Tagovailoa is a more accurate quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. So he's definitely been saying some stuff about his former team, but I know he definitely. I think it's just showing that he wants to show that he believes in his new quarterback too. Tua, because recently there hasn't been a lot of people who has especially about what's been going on. People are saying he's not very accurate quarterback. He's not, all this other stuff. So, a teammate believing in him, I don't think that there's no problem doing that, even if it's completely wrong. So, I think he just wants to believe in his quarterback. I see no problem with him doing that.
Respect. I respect that. That's cool. Anything else in NFL news you want to touch on before we wrap this one up?
I mean, there was one big news, obviously, the Odell Beckham going to the Ravens. Three-time Pro Bowler, wide receiver. I mean, he's kind of getting older, and I heard that Lamar Jackson was on a FaceTime call, or I think on his Instagram, he posted of him and Odell Beckham calling. So of course, that obviously started some rumors, them saying, "Oh yeah, he might be coming back now since he has a good receiver." But I mean, Odell Beckham's kind of getting to the end of his career anyway. So I mean, he might bring a little bit of spark to the offense, but he's not gonna like. I can't see him carrying the offense and having like 1,000-yard season. I think that road is over for him. But I think that's good that they at least get some receiver. It's better than nothing. And before we actually end the show, I just want to say this real quick about the NBA. I've been really impressed about how the Sixers, second string team, whatever, second, third string team, has been stepping up recently. So that might give us some confidence during the playoffs. Just God forbid if someone gets hurt, then they're ready to step in. And that's all I have to say, unless if you have anything to say.
Go Mac McClung. That's all I got to say. In the playoffs, no, he's not going to get any time. But it was fun to watch him play, like you said, in that last regular season game against the Nets where they trounced him with Simmons sitting on the sideline, sitting on his donut to relieve back pressure or something. That's a whole nother podcast. But anyway, yeah, let's wrap this one up. This is another episode of Alex at Bat, where we're always at bat talking about sports and all that good stuff. We'll see you next time when we do a wrap up on some sports from the following week. Later.